We asked for effort. They gave effort. But in the end, they still take the L 110-105, their 9th consecutive loss, a season-long 9th consecutive loss for the Philadelphia 76ers as they drop this one to the New York Knicks late because of the heroics of Jalen Brunson. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers
and the heroics of Andre Drummond. Depending on what your perspective is.
Presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck, I'm Devon Givens. Bree is here, as always, producing. We'll get to our player of the game a little bit later. WTF moment of the night. We'll share that one with you as well. But a lot to talk about in this one, as I see it right away. As you mentioned the Andre Drummond part, the bull RJ says Drummond has saved us. Thank you. With that one,
I'm having some. Honestly, I didn't have many problems with Andre tonight. This is as far as his performances go. This is way off the board compared to some of these games we've seen this year.
Well, folks, listen, the Sixers were down by as much as 19 points in this basketball game, and the Knicks did enough where they allowed the Sixers to make some shots. You saw a pulse from Paul George. He put the microphone down, pick up the basketball, and he found his shot in the second half. Tyrese Maxey stopped shooting deep shots and attacked the paint, got to the rim, saw some things go through the rim, and of course getting to the free throw line to work for him. And Kelly Oubre was pretty good all night long for the 76ers. Some good defense from Justin Edwards. There's a lot to like in this one again when we talk about the fight. But again, depending on where you are, whether you want them to snap the losing streak, which is now up to 9 before this game, 8 of course, or you're like RJ and mentioning that you want to get that keep losing so you can keep pace with the other teams there at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, so we can have a lot to talk about when it comes to the NBA draft lottery and those players, etc. But Kyle, this one, I mean, look, we asked for them to fight. They fought. They were in this.
Because we still got to watch these games, regardless of whether people are rooting for wins or losses. Yeah. We're going to be here. And we're going to be watching.
They were in it early. They were not in it early, and it looked like this was going to be another showing of, man, they about to get blown out once again. The Knicks really want this game. But it didn't turn out that way. After being down 19, they found a way. They win the third quarter by 7, 29-22. They even win the fourth quarter by 4 points. But in the end, again, late game heroics by Jalen Brunson, a personal 9-0 run by him to close the game out. And he was fantastic. And also a terrible, terrible defensive possession after an ATO by the Sixers. Great execution by Kale and OG Anunoby for the bounce pass to get to the paint for that dunk. But they were in it.
Yeah, and I would say my takeaway from most of the game is, okay, that's what you can look like when you turn in a professional effort on defense, right? Because even in the first half, they go down a lot by halftime, and it didn't look like a particularly competitive game, but it was mostly because they couldn't score, right? Mm-hmm. Paul George missed a ton of shots. Tyrese Maxey missed a ton of shots. And that's going to happen. You're going to have games like that. What they cannot afford to do, if they are still a team that's pretending like they're competing for anything this season, is show up and mail it in and not play defense. And I think it has to start with those two guys, right? Tyrese Maxey and Paul George, because we say the same thing about, granted, he's a better defensive player at his peak than both these guys, but Joel Embiid, when he's on the floor, we say the example he sets, the rest of these guys are going to follow, right? If he's moving around, if he's communicating, if he's doing what he's supposed to do, everybody else follows suit. Well, right now, that's on Paul and that's on Tyrese. I thought both those guys had better off-ball attentiveness, thought their on-ball defense was better. And so then you see plays where it's like, hey, Kelly Oubre's diving for a loose ball after Paul George forced a loose ball with his hands and is, active in driving and passing lanes. Tyrese Maxey coming in with a block around the rim. Tyrese Maxey, they showed on the ESPN broadcast tonight. Hey, he popped in here and served wasn't quite the low man, but rotated to stop a drive. And they were funneling the Knicks to places they wanted them to go. Mm-hmm. Frankly, a lot of the time it's to Josh Hart with the ball in his hands beyond the three-point line. Josh, unfortunately, did not hit the Gambling Givens parlay of the night, but still made an impact on the game, certainly. But those two guys have to show up and be leaders in the same way that when they're in the locker room and talking about like, yeah, the effort's unacceptable and we're not doing this, we're not doing that. Like, okay, you have to start there then, right? Because then once you do that, you don't give excuses to DeAndre Drummonds. You don't give excuses to the Ricky Councils, the Justin Edwards, the role players that are on this team. So I think this is in many ways the perfect game right now, right? Because it helps you with the tanking stuff, right? They lose the game, but you don't feel like it's like, oh, that was a waste of our time for 2.5 hours. It was Maxey had to battle through some stuff. He's going to, if you want to live in a future where there's like, hey, number one option, Maxey, and that's kind of how the team is designed and whatnot, that might be a while off, but he's going to have these games where he battles through the tough starts and keeps coming. And even like the outside shot's not there. What do you do to react to that? So I like the mentality that they showed. I like the toughness that they showed, and they still ended up helping the tank. So on every front, it was a lot more pleasing of a watch for me individually.
Yeah, it felt like an early season Tyrese game where like he came out, struggled a lot in the beginning. What did he end up? 0 for 10 from 3-point range? I don't know if I've ever seen him go 0 for 10.
I think that's the worst 3-point shooting game of his career.
0 for 10.
And he adjusted. Like Kyle said, he started really attacking off the dribble. He did a real good job getting into the paint. He was able to find ways to make plays and be effective, even with a shot that I don't know how much it is with the finger bothering him. I don't know how much that is, or if he just had an off night. But he did adjust, and he made a pretty big impact there in the fourth quarter. Both he and Paul did in the second half, and they found a way to lose. So it really is, because I need that draft pick more than I need anything else in my life right now. I'm hinging so much of my emotional...
That's a big statement.
I'm hinging a lot of my emotional well-being on getting that draft pick. So this was a
Same
big
for the
night
chat.
for that.
If you check them out.
But I do, I'm very happy that they showed a competitive response, because having the same discussion, whether it's the same recap or the same day after show or the same post-game show, I need them to die a different way. I need it to not be about, oh my gosh, this is the worst defense I've seen in the Joel Embiid era. This is a effort that you should be embarrassed about. They don't really have anything to be embarrassed about in this one. And for that, I am happy.
Except for, of course, they didn't snap it, so they have 9 consecutive losses. They felt like they fought back and they were in it. So you know it's deflating for them, or at least a gut punch for them to feel that. But to your point, they should be able to keep their heads up with this one because of the way that they fought back. There were a lot of good things to take out of it. Just quickly on the Maxey piece, even though he was 12 for 22 inside the 3-point line, and he had some really good finishes at the rim, some of the runners started to fall for him as well. One of them late that he made a few times early on, when you see it immediately in the live action, and then you could really see it on that replay where he had the ball, he was in his motion, ball in the right hand, and he could not get that normal feel
like
turn it over to float it. And you can kind of see where it came off of his fingertips, where I think that just bothered him just enough on that one. So of course you would imagine that not all 10 misses from behind the 3-point line, but some of them were a direct result of that thing on his on his
and he was very clearly second guessing every shot he had a chance for in the second half. Now that might have been because he started 0 for 8 from 3.
Fair.
Like he wasn't second guessing him in the first half. Yeah. But certainly by the end of it he was.
But yeah, look, they fought, and they're the one that's going to have to sit back in there if they lose these close games and really, again, feel a certain type of way when these fall this particular way, because they do fight and they extend and keep extending their losing streak. But for us, I said this on the show on, Monday. I said on the show on Monday, both of you, Rich, Bree, and people who weren't familiar with my thoughts were back during the rebuild era, you guys know really well, I didn't like it. I understood it. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like the approach. And I know what it did, and I know what it ultimately turned out to be. This one is different because of what they were supposed to be this year and what they turned out not to be this year. What they still have, at least we think, on their roster going forward, in this weird situation where they have an opportunity, because of their poor play, to pick up one of the really good young players in this draft. And they're not going to have that, or they shouldn't have that going forward over the next couple of seasons if they think they're good enough to do so. So this is one of those rare opportunities where you can still have your core, bad season, but get a really, really talented player to come into your mix, into the fold with the young Maxey that could also be your future, and the immediate help out with your 2 veterans that are there. So that's why I am right with these guys when it comes to this particular year and this particular approach of Yeah, they need to lose these basketball games to get one of those players, because they need that infusion of young talent to go along with Jared McCain as well when he is back. Nice to see Justin Edwards turn into what he has turned into. We'll see what he is ultimately down the line. But they need that young player to come in here and help out to continue with this group, even if they are going to be a playoff team next year. They just need another guy. So many times, I mean, you could see the playmaking was a problem. Some of the shot making was a problem, as you talked about earlier. And it's not to say that some young player is going to come in and save them, but to give them that type of youth, athleticism, and scoring ability with all the guys that we talk about, quite frankly, or whatever their skill set is, they need it. They need it badly on this roster.
Well, to that point, Devon, like, look at what they have gotten from even guys who are certainly not taken with premium picks this past draft, right? Like Jared McCain. Now, you can't expect every rookie to come in and give you the type of performances he's given you, right? Where he's scoring 30 and he's playmaking for guys, and they're winning games that they really had no business winning. But Jared McCain's able to come in and make an immediate impact. Justin Edwards, two-way player for a lot of this year, who they recently converted, who was a high-level high school prospect, but really disappointed at Kentucky. And we sat here after the summer league and we're like, that guy's just going to spend the whole year in Delaware if he even sticks. And now he comes back tonight, struggles a little bit in the first half in his first minutes back from the injury, and then plays some really good minutes in the second half. Like, his compete level on defense, his ability and his willingness to get over a screen and fight through traffic and navigate things in that way, the quick release on the threes, and he can run the floor because notably he's a young guy who's going to get up and down, which you're not getting that from older rotation players. So yeah, like, I 100%, the reason I'm on board with the not like throwing games thing,
the losses being the end result
with like an objective and a goal in mind, is you can see the difference when you get guys on the floor that can move, that are committed, that are like, I'm fighting for something. We even see that in the reason I bring up when they play the Nets, they play the Bulls, they play the Raptors. Those are bad teams, right? But those are bad teams that have young guys that are fighting for something, that want to prove something, right? A lot of what we've seen this year is that when you're built around a bunch of win now, older players and veterans, that's all well and good when things are going good. But when, I'm not going to say the S hits the fan, right? I didn't want to piss off our partners.
The shots hit the fan.
You know what hits the fan. A lot of those guys are looking for the exit door, and they're pointing fingers and they're saying, this isn't really my problem, right? I got my 4-year deal, my 3-year deal, whatever it is. You guys can worry about that. Justin Edwards doesn't have that luxury. A rookie player fighting for minutes doesn't have that luxury. So if you're able to get another young talent in here to help Maxey, to help McCain, you have Edwards as a rotation player, you start building this out. You start getting, frankly, a little bit more of the PG that we expected rather than the Paul George that they've gotten. And you can start building a real basketball team rather than whatever this mess is we've seen for most of this year.
Yeah. And I do think, like, obviously Justin turning it around was big. I thought defensively he really struggled at times in the first half. That's a real tough matchup. He spent a lot of the game on Brunson. That's really not what you expected when he came into the season. But
that's
he turned it around.
An assignment, isn't it?
It's a heck for a rookie. A rookie who doesn't have elite foot speed too, by the way, and going against a player who has so much craft that it was, but for a player who, what do you make, 2 shots all game? I thought he had a really big impact on that game.
And those 2 shots, those threes, those were big shots late in that fourth quarter, contested shots that he knocked down.
But just having somebody that you can rely upon a little bit and who will give that kind of effort, who will get out in transition, who will swing the ball quickly when it comes to him, it really does make a big difference. I do think, in terms of Paul, even in the first half when the shot wasn't going in, I thought it was one of his better defensive efforts.
Yes.
I thought he was making passes that he hadn't been making over the last couple of weeks. So the shot coming around, now look, there are some CTE turnovers that I'm sure we'll get to. Outside of that,
Seven of them.
I thought he played a pretty good game, even when the shot wasn't falling. So when the shot did finally come around in the second half, it didn't feel quite as cheap to me as it otherwise could have.
Yep. Well, Sixers do fall, though. 110, 105, 9 straight losses. They are now 20-39 on the campaign. 20-39, 19 games under 500 for the Philadelphia 76ers. And they have the Golden State Warriors up next, 8:30 on Saturday night in South Philadelphia. We'll come back. We'll talk more about Maxey and how things were for him tonight. how to slow down Jalen Brunson, a few other things there on both sides of the basketball when we come back on the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365.
All right, first up, I want to tell you about Glatt Hair Restoration, because anyone can buy equipment and say they do hair restoration, but only Glatt Hair Restoration by Morgenstern Medical offers decades of proven results using an innovative approach and delivered by leaders in the industry. Glatt Hair can help during all stages of hair loss with leading-edge treatments for prevention and restoration, including laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, topical and oral medications, PRP and stem cell restorations, and hair restoration surgery. Each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of treatment. You get caring patient advocates who work with you from the first phone call to the last follow-up visit. They understand that this decision can be emotional and challenging, and they're here to help make your experience simple and stress-free. Glatt Hair isn't just about restoration, it's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives. Change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional. If you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started.
I need to tell you about Rothman Orthopedics with all the injuries that are going on right now for your Philadelphia basketball team. Again, I have the place for them with any injuries that they are suffering right now. At Rothman Orthopedics, they practice in specializing care, and that has been their passion for over 50 years. Their mission, high quality, compassionate, and affordable care, rooted in research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doc is laser focused on their specialty, from hip, knee, spine, shoulder, you name it. They have a team doctor for each body part right here in your backyard. So Rothman proudly serves dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. And patients will find those full spectrum of orthopedic care at Rothman Orthopedics, from diagnosis to discharge. They provide their patients with each and every service and procedure necessary, such as x-rays, orthotics, and bracing, MRIs, physical therapy, and more. I have a bin at home, the big bins with just my stuff, like the braces and all that crap from my rehab.
Expecting to have an accident soon again?
I do not, but in case somebody needs it, one of my best friends tore his Achilles like 6 months after I did, so I just hand off some of that stuff to him. But with that being said, I went to Rothman, and so did he, and so should you need to find somebody to fix any ailing problem that you have. Rothman Orthopedics, specialized in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. And just quickly, we have quite a few super chats. Start them off, mix them in a little bit. Jake M with the first one. Why is Maxey playing if he can't dribble or shoot with the injury? He's certainly not developing out there. Just sit him.
I mean, I would be fine with that. Yeah. Question for people who are not me, right?
Yeah,
it's
right.
always like the medical people say it's X amount of risk, and it's also you have to convince Tyrese to not play, which is always a much bigger part of this than I think people understand or realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to sit down just to sit down. Jess with one as well. 20th super chat for Jess. Thank you, Jess. Appreciate that. $20 as well. Appreciation super chat for Drum. The tank is alive and well.
Again, I will say, I do think, frankly, the defensive effort was better.
Yes.
And I think that he did some more of the things that you expect out of Andre Drummond. That said, with the game on the line and an opportunity to make a big play, he got blocked at the rim and then fumbled the ensuing rebound and allowed the Knicks to close out that game. So the tank commander, he will, if they are able to secure a top 3 pick,
you got to play a lot of
You will have to build his statue next to Mike Muscala's one day.
It's really tough because, like, on the one hand, I'm like, you're watching Bona, and the moment he got in there in the first quarter, like, the game just changed a little bit defensively. He was making rotations that, this pains me a lot to say, no other big man, healthy or not, on the roster can currently make. And it really did change their defense. So I like watching him play basketball more now, but I understand how crucial Andre Drummond is to the objectives that we all agree on. So
good times, man. We'll get to him in a little bit more a little later with Andre Drummond for his minutes out there on the floor. The Tyrese Maxey piece, Derek, just again, the the outside shot not falling, but he figured it out a little bit later on. And had he figured it out a little bit earlier, I mean, look, I know most people like the result, but they might have really, really had a chance to win this one had that not happened.
Yeah, and Kyle mentioned this during the game, and is absolutely right. Like, this was one of his tunnel vision games. So when you combine the tunnel vision with the poor shooting in the first half, it was really dark. And I do give him, like, for all of his faults, effort is almost never it.
Yeah.
And the fact that he continued to give effort even when the shot isn't falling, and that he found ways to attack and use even just the threat of the shot, because even though he was hesitating, they were still closing out on him, and he was able to get them off balance, time those drives right, and find ways to sneak in the lane and get good looks. I give him credit for that. You're right. If he was better either in the first half in terms of shooting or just overall in his playmaking, it might have been a different outcome. But the competitive response, when you're this deep in the season, and you're talking about 9 losses in a row, and you're talking about 18 games under 500, playing another game without your superstar center, I do give some credit for that competitive response. I do. Yeah. And it's not surprising, but it was nice to see.
And two, real fast, the 10th 3-pointer that he missed, that one was pretty much rattled in and out. And Brunson goes on the other end and he hits a 3. So it's a 6-point swing there. But that was a big play right there that he missed that one. Good look. And he felt comfortable enough to take that one, I guess, because of all the other makes that he did have previously.
Yeah, I'll be a little less generous than you guys. He scored 30 points on 32 shots. Like at the end of the day, they lost because he wasn't good enough. That's most of the story of this game, right? And we could say, well, I love the response, and it's his team in so many ways at this point. So like he's got to be a leader and blah 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 blah. But like he wasn't good enough. Like, and when we say Paul George, you're out there, and there's no excuses once you're on the floor, right? Well, there are no excuses once Tyrese is on the floor. So I can sit here and say, I understand why he would be 0 for 10 from 3 and why he would stop taking those shots, either because he's not as confident or he doesn't trust the hand or it doesn't feel right. And Devon, I see the same things you do with like trying to turn it over, and he has some moments that he just can't get a grip on the ball. Like, I feel for him. But if you're out there and you're the guy, you're the max contract guard, you're the person that a lot of people just want to build the whole franchise around at this point, 30 points on 32 shots isn't getting it done. And the more concerning thing for me is just when Joel is not there and it becomes the Maxey show, there are too many of these stretches where he just does not see the floor and gets baited into, it's really in the first half, because the second half, the lane cleared and he's getting to the rim and he's scoring. The first half, there are a lot of times when they have 2 guys at the rim or he can't get by somebody. There's got to be an open shooter somewhere. You have to find that guy, whether that's a drop off to the dunker, quick to the strong side, skip pass to the corner. He's got to read the floor. Otherwise, like as we get closer to draft time and we're looking at, hey, this prospect and this prospect and that prospect, you have to seriously consider, hey, are you using another pick or a high value pick on a guard who's going to try to help round out the weaknesses that he can't fulfill for this team, or maybe that him and Jared McCain can't fill because of their respective skill sets. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to get all that worked up about it because, again, the biggest thing tonight was the competitive response, but he was not good enough, and that's a big reason why they lost.
Yep, absolutely. Bernard McCoy, staying on the part that I just brought up about the shot that he missed. I'll put the glasses on for this one, Kyle. Don't worry. Man, had that last 3 by Maxey not rattled out, Phil Evans would not have been able to hate. I love his effort in trying to guard Brunson. And we saw he had a nice block on Brunson at one point when Brunson went to the basket. Tyrese had a really good block there in the second half on Jalen Brunson, who had it rolling in that second half. But yeah, the compete level on the defensive end was there when he got switched.
Way better.
Yep. It absolutely was. So that was some of the good and the bad of what this night was for Tyrese Maxey. Again, he just did not have it going. And when you see it like that, where it's not working early on, adjust the game, just like you did in the second half. You shouldn't have to take the locker room conversation to have that. Let's make this adjustment. Sure, you make adjustments, but he's seen enough defenses. He's seen enough times where he's missed shots where he needs to adjust in that moment and make those decisions for himself. And I'm sure some of the coaches even said the same thing during some of those timeouts whenever he was on the bench saying, hey, your shot's not falling. Hey, they're going to fall, but get something easy for yourself. Get a layup, get a runner to go, get to the free throw line, knock down the few free throws, and then step out once again and take a 3-pointer for Tyrese Maxey. So that part, again, just tale of two games for him, tale of two halves, if you will, for him. And in the end, yes, he did have a decent final scoring number, but he took a hell of a lot of shots to get there because of that. Missed all 10 of his threes.
And look, I would say this. I would still rather that than what we got against Chicago, right? Which is watching Tyrese take 10 shots in 29 minutes. If you're going to lose, and more than likely they're going to lose this season and moving forward, I want the ball in Tyrese's hands, and I want him either having to make a decision as a playmaker and finding an open shooter, or for him to shoot the ball more than likely, because he is the best offensive player that's available to play for this team. I don't want him to ever be in the mindset or ever be schemed out of a game where it's like you look up and you're like, man, Tyrese has like 15 points and there's only a few minutes left. So I didn't like this game, but I much prefer this to the passive and non-impactful version we got earlier this week.
100%.
Yep. So just kind of moving on for the guy who he was playing well in the first half. He had a pretty good overall game, a couple of boneheaded things throughout the game later on. Kelly Oubre. Yeah, played pretty.
No, I mean, look, when his
he
shot
kept them in it in the first half.
Sure. When his perimeter shot goes in, it's a lot easier to see how he impacts winning on a decent team. And what do you make? 2 threes in the first half, something like that. Had 12 in the first quarter, 19
4
by
for 6 from 3,
like
5 of 6 from the free throw line, just efficient across the board.
Energy was there. There a couple of times where he fouled jump shooters that were hurtful.
The one Brunson one where he jumped at him, put his one arm back, but then still, I was like, what do you did everything right.
Everything
you forced
right.
the weird jump shot and then, but yeah.
But no, he was getting to his mid-range spots. He was finding ways to attack the rim off the bounce. It was a real good Kelly game for sure.
Yeah. And I thought in the first half, there was like 1 or 2 shots where I would have liked to have him back, or he took the one early clock 3 from the trail spot. And I was just pulling my hair out. But other than that, he's just lining guys up. And it was like, if you're going to play too far up on me, and frankly, they did quite a bit, he still has a dynamic first step. Yeah, right? Like there are many things that are, problems or holes in Kelly's game. That first step is awesome. So if you try to play pressure defense on him, he's going by you. He took advantage of that for a lot of this game. And it's really weird to say and think this, given where he was at when he came in here, but he is like a good litmus test for like how hard this team is going to play, right? When Kelly competes, generally the rest of the guys are competing. That's why, like, over the last few weeks, he has noticeably taken a step back in that level, right? Because I would say from November through most of January, Kelly was one of the few guys that every single night was like, put the hard hat on, got to work, even as other guys were struggling or not playing well. Mm-hmm. Kelly played really hard, and the bottom has gone out a little bit in recent weeks. This was a response game from him. And so I count him, it's weird to say this, given all our opinions about him before he came here, but I would count him as one of the, emotional leaders of this team, because clearly when he raises his level, most of the time other guys do. So,
well, it's also just like when you get competent wing defense, it changes everything. When you get Kelly playing hard, when you get Paul George locked in, earlier in the season when you had Caleb Martin and KJ Martin playing as well, it's just so much easier.
Wait, KJ Martin, remember that guy?
Yes. But what they get for him in a trade? It doesn't matter. When you have those kind of wings covering ground, it's a lot easier to make up for poor rim protection and maybe bigs who cannot play in anything but a drop. And for a couple of weeks, Kelly wasn't as locked in. Paul George was borderline checked out on defense, and it looked really, really terribly, disgustingly bad. And for one night at least, those two were locked in. It's part of the reason why Kelly frustrates me so much, because if you had a competent offensive player who could consistently make what's he shooting, 25% from 3 coming in there tonight? It's really bad. When you can get somebody who can make an open shot and just make good, quick decisions, his skill set should be not only playable, but very, very valuable. he hasn't been good enough offensively for most of the season. Tonight was great to see because it's sort of like a proof of concept over what the team can be when they're getting that good wing defense.
He's played 54 games of their, 58, 59 games, 58, sorry, games this year. So also available whenever you talk about all those other guys. He is one that is available and is able to go every single night for Nick Nurse's team. Tonight finished with an overall 27 for Kelly Oubre tonight, and he was really, really efficient on that 27. 9 of 14 from the floor, making 4 of his 6 3-point attempts. Got to the free throw line 6 times, and he split a pair at the end, which allowed the Knicks to keep a lead somewhere. What was it, like a 5-point lead, I think it was, because he missed a free throw, played just under 42 minutes as well, and had 4 personal fouls, but pretty much balanced it out pretty well of keeping himself on the floor tonight to be able to play those 42 minutes and guard all of the guys that he did. So good showing from Kelly Oubre tonight with that 27. And once again, as the guy said, he really kept them in it with the 12 in the first quarter that he has. Pardon me, 7 in the second quarter, 12 in the first. So he had 19 in the first half overall for Kelly Oubre. And that allowed for Paul George and Tyrese Maxey to turn up their scoring in the second half with him doing what he did in the first. We'll come back, talk more about this game, how things played out in this one, get to more of your super chats, the player of the game, the WTF moment of the night. Sixers fall 110-105 to the Knicks, their 9th straight loss. We'll be back right here on the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. Oh, man, Bet365. Folks, I let you down tonight. Wasn't my fault.
You went for the big one, though. It's okay.
And for whatever reason, Josh Hart just did not want it. The rebounding side.
Just take a couple of those rebounds, put them into the assist column. You're good to go. But
I don't know. And he missed 3 free throws. He had 7 points. He would have had that 10. He had 4 assists. How about give some of those 7 turnovers and he might get those assists as well. So I let you down, folks. But if you did take the Andre Drummond side of things, we did hit the under on the 8.5 points because he had 7. Right there at Bet365. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. Live streams over 780,000 events a year, 90 million users worldwide at Bet365. And with it, they are offer the widest range of games and markets available for that live in-game betting across 78 sports. And they have pioneered that for that live betting there at Bet365. So early payout offers were available tonight. There are some games that have yet or just tipping off. So if you want a winner early payout wise, you pick a team that goes up by 20 points with an instant payout and on that straight bet and parlay selections marked as winners. So you get that, folks. So new customers, we got some breaking news for you from Bet365. Now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up. Use code PHLY365. Deposit 10. Place a bet for 5. Get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And with these last games being played tonight, don't forget, you have the opportunity with a 3+ leg parlay at 30% with the profit boost there at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And guys, I want to tell you about our good friends at Ace Hardware Home Services. If you've got a leaky pipe, Ace Hardware Home Services is around the block with everything you need to fix it, including the person who can do the fixing. If you got an air conditioning issue, and those will be coming up soon, got some warm weather coming, they've had it the last couple of days, they've got a person for that. Got a faucet you said you'd fix last fall, they've got that person too, because now they're not just the helpful hardware folks, they're also the helpful home service and repair folks. From plumbing and heating and cooling, you've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long at Ace Hardware Home Services. I tell you guys all the time, once you buy a home and you have a lot more problems than you had when you were a renter, and you could just say, hey, landlord, here's my problem. You better fix it. You need people who are experts, who are going to get the job done for a cost affordable, who are going to get it done quickly. And Ace Hardware Home Services has your back. They're bringing helpful to your house, the helpful you love, from the store and out of your front door. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
Aces that plays for the helpful something.
Hardware
folks. There you go.
Literally in the ad read.
All right, but I wasn't looking.
By the way, as we're in the middle of this ad break, and I'm looking at some people in the chat who everyone keeps trying to refer everything back to Joel, right? It's like, you wouldn't say this about Joel that you're saying about Maxey. First of all, yes, I would. And I have. And we all have on this show or in written form or wherever else. Or then we're getting, oh, you don't know basketball if you were skeptical of Kelly Oubre. He's the third best player on this team, and he's more of a dog than Embiid. Brother, Kelly Oubre signed a minimum contract for a reason. There is a reason he came here and was almost out of the league. Like, we don't have to be dishonest about who these people are, okay? Pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
Don't be an idiot.
No. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by
everybody else in the world was wrong, and the NBA was just wrong about this guy who, by the way, hasn't won anything here either. Like, let's just be clear. Has not been a force for winning.
He hasn't been all that good all recently either. Like, he had a great game today.
You want to take a victory lap over a single good Kelly Oubre victory game? Like, come on.
Yes. Anyway.
Get real.
Anyway.
Let's talk about Paul George, who I think had a nice game tonight. But if we circle back to what I was talking about, or what we were talking about with Tyrese Maxey, where a little bit too much tunnel vision. Mm-hmm. What you see, and as we get closer to the draft stuff, and we look at the Dylan Harpers of the world, and maybe some guys who can actually play make, ask him either one of those guys to be a lead playmaker. And I would say the same thing about Joel. That's a big challenge, right? Like, Paul had 7 turnovers tonight against 7 assists. And while we complimented him earlier in the year for saying he's the only guy on the team who regularly tries to make that skip pass, like he's in a pick and roll, he's going to hit the guy in the opposite corner. What he also will do is get stuck in midair, try to throw a bounce pass, and even before the pass is thrown, there's a guy just like acting like a pitcher and catcher type thing, like right into his hands. And so what you see watching these guys run the offense themselves is somebody else is probably going to have to be the lead playmaker. And one of the things that they really have lost when James Harden left and all that pressure got put on Tyrese, it allowed him to, raise his game as a scorer and be more of that dynamic threat play to play as the on-ball guy. But it forces him to try to be someone that he probably just is not, right? And so somebody who can come in and take that responsibility off of his plate, not to say he can't play make at all, but to ask him to play make less, someone who's a more natural playmaker with the ball in his hands. That would be something that I think would really juice up this team. Unfortunately, those guys are really hard to get.
Yeah. No, it really is. Like, he's supposed to be the third playmaker. And you see that when he tries to ramp up. And quite frankly, like I said, today I thought he had a pretty good playmaking day. Even in the first half when he wasn't really making his shots, he was finding those, coming off of a pick and roll, finding those guys in the corner. He was trying to find the big men rolling in the hoop. I do think he'd be better if they had a more natural roller. He tried to find, Drummond on one and didn't get enough air on it and ended up getting picked off. But like somebody who could really sort of put pressure on the rim and open up some of those kickouts to the corner. Look, they need, this team was designed to be built around Joel Embiid's gravity. He hasn't been here. So now they need to find a way to add that. That's why when people will look at Dylan Harper, and we don't get too deep into the draft coverage because we'll have months to do that. Hopefully a pick to extend that a couple more months as well. But people are like, well, you have guards. Okay, but like you need as many creators and passers as you can possibly get, especially on a team where Maxey's not a true lead guard, where McCain showed glimpses of it, but was not a true lead guard in college, and where Paul George, who's probably going to be here next year, in part because that contract's real tough to move, is not a real true creator as well. So yeah, you certainly need someone with that kind of skill set. Tonight showed it a little bit. It also hurt that nobody could make a shot. That tends to deflate your offense too.
Yeah, the 7 turnovers, of course, that's glaring and it stands out to go along. Look, 4 steals, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, as you highlighted. But those 7 assists, those 7 turnovers, because he does those types of things where he just gets himself in trouble and tries to hit those skip passes. They're a little lazy, not enough air underneath it, and guys are going the other way because of those. But my thing is, 9 for 20, knocked down 4 threes, hit some big shots there late for the Sixers. This is what we've been asking for next to Maxey all season long when Paul George has been out there, when he's been available, when he's laced him up next to Maxey with Embiid out. This is what we've asked for. You will get these every now and then from Kelly Oubre. This is the type of performance we've asked from Paul George to 100%. Be this one. And we've seen it too sparingly, where it's the Knicks game earlier in the year, the first Knicks game where he has 30 in that first game. They lose a close one. Maxey does Maxey things. Or no, actually Maxey missed that first game and Embiid played with him. And that was one of Embiid's first games of the season. So that one was tough. Then you'll bring up another game where he had 27 and he and Maxey combined for a really good game. We had a thumbnail for one of our graphics to start the show saying 1-2 punch because of how well that they played in that particular game. But they're too spread out. They're too sporadic when he has a game that matches the effort and the output of what Tyrese Maxey has. So sure, we're giving him credit for how well he played, but I'm going on the, like Kyle did on the other side of the Maxey part, I'm going on the other side of Paul George. Yeah, we make jokes about him saying he's putting the microphone down and focusing on the championship run. We might not be having these same conversations if it was those close games that they lost. He was a part of those, and he gave them that extra 7, 10, 12 points to put them over the top. You only needed to win by 1 for us to be talking about a real 7-10, whether we liked it or not.
So we'd be panicking, but go on.
Sure. Whether we liked it or not, in the moment we were losing our minds because we weren't even thinking that way yet. And those were some of those games.
And also, I will never ask the guys who are on the floor to give up. And Frank, I'll never get on this show and be like, oh, I was happy to see they just laid down and quit. Right?
No, we would absolutely point out those guys quit.
100%.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my thing. Yes. He played well tonight. He said he's going to try to play this way for the remainder of the season for a, as he said, championship run. But come on, man. This is all everybody's been asking for. It may not result in 20 and 8 and 7 or 25, 8 and 7 every night. It's just the effort and the impact where you point out, yeah, Tyrese Maxey should not be shooting 10 times a game because he's Tyrese Maxey. Paul George should not end up with 2 points against the Brooklyn Nets where you needed a win going into that All-Star break. It may not have made a difference coming out of the break because of what they did against Boston, but he also wasn't good enough following Boston when you played against Brooklyn and the last loss that they had against the Chicago Bulls. These are the types of games we've been asking for. And, I mean, it's just like, all right, a little window dressing here for where they are right now. And it's pretty frustrating, to be perfectly honest with you, because of what he was brought here to do. Sure, he's playing through some injuries and all, but he's out there. As we've been saying, anytime these guys are injured, you're out there, do something. And tonight he did something. They still lost. He played a part in the almost win of pulling off the W. But damn, man, if for the sake of the Sixer fans and the sake of their team and picking up wins, he could have been doing a lot more like this throughout the season.
Yeah, just some assertiveness, right? The shots will come and go. We saw that within this game. He sucked offensively to start the game because he's living on that same diet of pull-up mid-range jumpers, turnarounds from the mid-post, catch and shoot threes. Like, he's a streaky player. Mm-hmm. What he can't do is the same thing we said with Maxey. You can't be passive. You do not have the luxury of sitting here and saying, 10 shots is enough for me, right? You have to exert your will and say, it doesn't matter if I'm 9 for 20 or 9 for 30. I'm here to be a leader of this team. So give me the ball, get me my shots, and we'll figure out a way. And it was much more encouraging to me that even while he did stink it up on offense to start the game, the defensive effort was there, right? Because that's been the problem. He's had tough starts to games on offense recently, not against the Bulls. He actually looked pretty good the other night against them. But he's had these tough starts, and then he allows that to bleed into defense. And all of a sudden you look up and it's like, they're down 15 points. They're down 20 points to a bad team. So
how many to get down by, Devon?
50.
Not tonight, just to be clear. Anyone just popping in random.
It's going
to be a meme for us. They're saying 50 to the Bulls. But so it's got to be leading by example on both ends. So sure. I like that quite a bit tonight. Certainly we criticized him and made fun of him for the podcast saying, if he comes out and plays like this, if they lose, they lose. But this is the effort and the commitment to the team that you want to see. Paul George having 7 turnovers is more a reflection of like that guy should not be one of your primary playmakers, right? He should be playing off the other people and being used as that off-ball weapon that he is. So I liked plenty of what I saw. Frankly, he was much more involved as a rebounder tonight, which I liked seeing that too, because I feel like we have not seen in a while a lot of examples of Paul mixing it up on the glass and getting in there. And so had 2 offensive rebounds tonight. Love to see that. And yeah, the other thing I would say this week a little bit in fits and starts, and granted both teams had no real bigs available, he's gotten to the rim a little bit. And he's had some good finishes at the basket. And while him driving by like Jalen Brunson or somebody is not inspiring me, and he's finishing over like Precious Achiuwa, like whatever, but just getting to the paint and getting to the basket at all has been such a struggle for him, that when you see that happen and when you see that him do that over 2 or 3 games in a row, it's like, okay, maybe if he gets a clean bill of health and gets his legs under him and he's not, I hate calling guys cooked, right? Like people are so quick to be like, guy who's 34 or 35 has a bad couple of weeks or is coming off an injury, it looks bad, you call him washed. I would like to see him with a month of time where he's not hurt and fighting something that maybe physically he'll look like the guy that we expected.
Yeah, no, I certainly think, both the bone bruises to start and then the, injury here of late with the finger has impacted his season for sure. For sure. And he was playing real good basketball in January before the latest injury. If there's probably another world, somewhere in the multiverse where Joel Embiid's playing basketball regularly, Paul George isn't regularly hurt, and he's actually fitting in well as a third option. And we're probably sitting here going like, he's averaging like 19 and 6 and 4, and it's not quite max money, but he's filling a role well, and we're happy with him. That is not how this season has gone.
No, not at all. And tough games tonight for Quentin Grimes, Lonnie Walker off the bench. Ricky was in there for 6
really
minutes.
Struggled, man. Really
He
struggled.
really has.
Why is he playing over Jared Butler? I truly don't understand.
No.
Because we're talking about, hey, they need somebody to kind of facilitate the offense. I don't know that Butler is that guy.
Grimes.
But Lonnie is certainly
not
that guy.
Those Grimes, Lonnie, Kelly lineups are just going to be the end of me. They're and look, we've all said we want that draft pick, but not that way. I need to figure out another way to lose games because I can't watch those lineups anymore.
When you only lost this game by 5 points, right? And it goes down to the wire. The difference in the game could very easily be you play Jared Butler for like 5 minutes and he gives you like competent backup point guard play rather than Lonnie taking a bunch of mid-range pull-ups and missing his threes.
I'd play Lonnie a little bit too. You're in evaluation mode. You've got a player 100%. Option for both of them for next year. But like I want to see Jared Butler play too.
Yep, absolutely. Defense still, not great. Gave up 110. Probably should have been 120. They missed a lot of good looks, especially when you have Josh Hart turning the ball over the way that he did, taking away shots.
You watch the Knicks more than I do, Devon, because you're your cousin. Like, what was going on with him?
Yes.
Tonight?
So sometimes when you watch Josh will get the rebounds, get the assists early, do all that stuff. He knows he can get to the basket and get all you need is 10 for a triple-double. So he'll do that type of stuff. So he had the rebounding. He was snatching the boards early, very early. So that was fine. But the assists, sometimes he can start pressing where, I'm going to make this pass to Precious Achiuwa or Hakporty there at the starting center and try to make this pass similar to what you talked about with Paul George, taking those chances. And then he got himself in a rut, wasn't making his free throws early where he missed those 2, and he just starts overthinking, and as a result, stuff like that happened. He made the one bad pass cross-court, went right across the half-court line, and the Sixers just snatched that one, went the other way, $4. So that's what Josh Hart does that sometimes. But I thought it would be the opposite. The rebounding was there. And get a lot of transition.
17 rebounds is so crazy, man.
And get a lot of transition.
He's an insane rebounder.
To get a lot of transition buckets, he does that with the assist. Finding guys filling the lanes. Kel, OG Anunoby, or spotting up Deuce McBride behind the three-point line. Jalen Brunson, of course. And he just did not have a good handle on the basketball on the offensive end. Yeah. On the offensive end.
It really is. And Kyle brought up OG and the mid-range shots. Between that and Josh Hart not taking or making a single three in 39 minutes. Last April is just infuriating.
Jeez, man.
I told these guys in the middle of the game, OG Anunoby this season on long twos has shot, I think, like 25%.
Unbelievable.
In last year's playoffs, he shot 73% on those shots.
Big game player, boy.
Like, come on,
Josh
bro.
Hart turns into Steph for a minute.
The
Like, are you
fakest thing
kidding
I've
me?
ever seen, man. What a ridiculous series that was. I get it. Like, if you step your game up, you tip your hat and say, great. But if that team had gone to a conference finals with that Mickey Mouse, whatever, that would have been. Now, Indiana Mickey Mouse run too, as they fell apart with injuries and whatnot.
Because Jalen got hurt.
What a stupid playoffs last year.
Yeah, that was
in the East. It was just like who actually has 8 healthy players. It was Indiana, New York, and then it was Boston, Cleveland.
Okay, so it was Boston, Indiana. All right.
Do we want to get to our tank updates? I feel like one of us has to run a tankathon.
Let's get to the
spin, right? And Kyle refuses to do tankathon.
Yeah, so go for it.
I don't spin on tankathon except the day of the lottery.
So
one time.
I will fill in the rich role here.
So where are they right now? In
Sixth worst record. Well, I guess we could probably bring up the other results from today because that impacts that. Right?
Look at that tank watch from
go.
Bree.
There it is. Great stuff, Bree.
Unfortunately, not a lot went your way here in this one.
Almost nothing.
Yeah.
Nets were leading for a big portion of that game.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Blazers won. That helps. The Blazers have pretty much separated themselves. They're not a real threat. To
Blazers here next Monday, by the way.
Those two Raptors, there's 2 Raptors versus Sixers games. Those are the season right there. You need
those are must losses.
Yes. They're going to split those, and you know they're going to split those. So let's do the tank.
So that keeps Sixers with the sixth worst record.
Sixth worst
look at that!
record.
Look at that tank watch in the corner.
Gives them about a 44% chance of keeping the pick. Hitting the button.
Hitting the button. It is. Sixers end up where? Seventh.
And lose the pick.
And lose the pick.
That's the last time I will ever run the tankathon spin because clearly I am not the good luck
This is why I do it one time on the final day because you just drive yourself nuts.
Need to get those odds up. We need to get those odds up.
Drive yourself nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. Jalen was fantastic down the stretch.
Yeah.
Just really, really good.
He is not a guy I particularly enjoy watching, unfortunately, but he was very good.
Yeah, at 14, he went on a 9-0 run down the stretch when the Knicks needed it. Sixers eventually took their first lead of the game on a Maxey 3 that gave them the lead, and Jalen went on a 9-0 run.
Well, it definitely wasn't a Maxey 3.
Was it 2?
He didn't make a 3 all game.
He didn't make a 3
all
game.
Right. I'm sorry. You're right. You're absolutely right. That was a 2. That he took the lead. It was a runner, and yes, my mistake. But yeah, Jalen.
You're good, man. It's a long season, brother. Long season.
Jalen was fantastic in the second half, man.
Yeah, and they really the Sixers took what were they up 3? I think at that point
they were up 3.
They're up 3.
Yeah.
With like a minute left, and he just completely took over. It was impressive. To Kyle's point, do I love the whole stop and throw your body back into the defender?
He's
nonsense?
Trae Young with New York PR.
Yeah,
that's all he is. He is. They do all the same things that infuriate
stylistically,
people.
Yes, there's similarities for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Brunson currently is better than Trae Young.
Yes.
But
also not as nearly as annoying to play with, which I think is a big part of the Trae Young experience.
But he's better Trae Young and also a better vibes guy.
Yes.
I would say that.
For sure on the vibes. But no,
Trae Young a better passer though.
Took over the game. Sixers didn't really have an answer. It's kind of what you expect good players to do though.
Yeah, they would have passed the ball to my guy a little bit more than.
To be fair, though, he passed a lot in the first quarter.
Brunson, you mean?
Yeah, he got all his assists on Kale's shots.
I think Kale was 6 for 6 on Brunson passes.
Yeah.
Stevan's being protective. He's like, "Yo, my guy's cooking. You got to give him the
ball."
He did end up with 28 on the night.
Listen, he did. He did. They had a cool graphic that Bree pulled up on the TV because of his streak, where he's 588 or whatever the hell his number is, not missing a game.
Crazy.
And they put this.
Sounds like a guy who might make sense on a team that has an oft-injured star that needs to win without that guy.
Yeah, his availability, right?
I wonder if there's a team that could use a player like that might have taken him with a high-value pick in the draft and then traded him elsewhere.
Like a high value pick this year. right? Look at this. I love it. Look at that. He's on his Peloton there, getting it done. That's 5:32. Okay, 5:32 on his Peloton. Keep working. Every time he falls, I'm like, don't twist your ankle, man. don't twist your ankle. What are you doing? But no, yeah. And I was telling the guys, for people who don't remember, they didn't pay attention to Phoenix. They stunk, right? So his very first game of the NBA season, game 1 of that Phoenix season, his rookie year, Igor was his coach. Remember Igor and all that? Played in the final 2 seconds.
By the way, the fact that they hired Igor and didn't draft Luka is the most insane thing ever. That like breaks my brain to think about.
Vlade too. Like, are you kidding me? Vlade, you're going to pass on him?
Yeah. So,
oh my God.
He played 2 seconds.
Every part of Luka's journey in the NBA is like the dumbest thing that ever happened.
I just want to shout out. There's someone in our chat whose name is Hookah Doncic, which is just an A+ reference.
I saw that.
If the news out of today was that.
So since the 2 minutes onward, it's just been
2 minutes on 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
2 seconds. We were like, seriously, dude? We'll wait till the next game. But yeah, 5:32 and running for Kale. So it's all good. 28 tonight. That was good.
So a lot of people, like Kyle mentioned, like, hey, it's the kind of guy you maybe want for a center who's often injured. But like, you just think some of those series were like just one more high-level player.
Yep.
Maybe you beat the Raptors. Maybe you beat the Celtics.
Instead of having a guy who had a hole burned through his esophagus.
In the corner missing a bunch of threes. Maybe you just have that one where like you have that breakthrough.
Throw that guy on Kevin Huerter who's going nuts in this game 7.
And even if Embiid's broken down now, at least you have one legacy game, one legacy series that you can hang your hat on. Just crying shame.
Yeah, well, because of all the stuff that has going on, I'm happy he hasn't been here.
But maybe he would have been the one
been the stabilizing force.
He might have been.
Draft the local kid who went to Villanova.
Yeah, he might have been.
Might have changed everything.
They had their chance.
Yes, they did.
Yes, twice. They could have tried to trade for him, but they didn't want to give up all those picks.
Oh, but we had to have the collaborative.
Yeah. Let's get to the player of the game tonight. We talked about him a little bit earlier. He still handed it to Tyrese Maxey with the 30, with the big second half. 30 points, 6 for 6 from the free throw line, 4 boards, 5 assists. Big argument there for Kelly Oubre tonight with the way that he did play, 9 for 14 from the floor, 4 threes. But ultimately, Tyrese Maxey doing what he did late in the second half gives him another nod there at the player of the game. And it is brought to you by no one. All right.
Trading Luka because of his drinking and hookah habits. Are you kidding me? That's absolutely.
They would have never let me on a team. For multiple reasons, but definitely the beer part.
It's one thing to have character assassination after a trade, but when the assassination is like, listen, he likes beer, are you kidding me?
I'll also say this. I've had enough of the anti-Luka stuff coming out of Dallas. Like, those reporters need to have some shame. Like, you guys are getting fed the most ridiculous PR spin from a team and a franchise that clearly screwed up and should have opened trade negotiations and didn't. And now they have to say all these things like, I don't know, that guy's got some bad vibes. He likes
beer.
Like, come on, man. It's embarrassing.
It's ridiculous.
I can't remember.
Have gotten started on this rant 58 minutes in because Devon's got to do his thing, but like just absurd.
I can't remember who it was that said this on Twitter that was like, they're like someone who can't stop talking about their ex-girlfriend, that you just need to take their phone away and go out with just the boys for the night, and just like you can't think about Luka for like 10 minutes.
You're sitting there like,
oh man, stop with
all the hair in the drain. I couldn't take it anymore.
Boy, she only did her dishes several times a week. What are you talking about, man? It's Luka Doncic. Shut the hell up. Anyway,
one more Lakers game between those two in Dallas. The next one, they beat the Lakers. The Lakers beat the Mavs last night.
Well, at least AD's healthy and playing well.
Yeah, you're right.
You got a guy whose habits have allowed him to be super available.
Those habits got him to the finals last year. Unbelievable. Yeah, but the Igor thing of not drafting, they didn't draft him with Igor as the coach, and no, that was a bad one. That was a bad one. All right, I got to tell you about allphly.com. Go sign up to become a diehard member. Check out Kyle's recap for the game tonight and every game night. Of course, the stories from Derek and Kyle. with everything going on with the 76ers, allphly.com. Sign up right now. First year, $48 for you, $4 a month to become a diehard member. You get a t-shirt like Derek's has on right now. And I'll become a member of the Discord, allphly.com. Go sign up right now and check out the gold standard stuff there with the shirts and all. And also the Eagles free agency combine right now. Free agency starts in about less than 2 weeks. Philly spring training going on. Jim Salisbury has you covered there. And the Flyers have more wins than the Sixers. And Charlie's writing about it. AllPHLY.
The machine, Charlie O'Connor.
Yes. All right, let's get to the WTF moment of the night. We said he played okay, but he also made sure that we hit the under for this 8.5 points. And that is Andre Drummond. And it's weird because he made a good play. He ran the floor. Paul George didn't turn the ball over. He assisted Andre Drummond on this one play, and that play is right here from Andre Drummond and Paul George. He gets a technical, guys.
Did we ever find out? Did he get it for the kick or for the hang?
It wasn't because of the kick. I don't think.
Because on the broadcast, they were convinced he punted it into the stands.
No.
And we didn't even see it on the broadcast at first. So it was what the heck happened? That's one of the few times that Andre got a tech for doing something that I was like, that's not your fault, bro.
But if it was for hanging on the rim, he hung on the rim and allowed Huck Porty to run into him where he stayed on the rim. But if he just got off the rim,
I hate hanging on the rims
are
in general.
Absolutely lame.
Criminal rule that's
absurd.
In there. It'd be one thing if you're doing the Vince Carter honey dip with your elbow in the rim or doing something like that, but like you hang on the rim a little bit, especially these guys are like you're looking around, making sure you're not landing on somebody. Like, who the hell cares, dude? It's the dumbest rule the NBA has.
What about the Yabusele one where he hangs with the one arm just up there and
any of them. I don't want any hanging on the rim.
Okay. Here, the only time
if you want to protest by hanging on the rim, just be ungovernable.
The only times you should get hanging on the rim texts are the Vince Carter honey dip, or if you hold the rim and start doing pull-ups on the rim after a dunk.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Then I'll say you deserve a tech.
Half of these are probably just trying to get your feet under you anyway.
Not that one. He was just doing it. He was just hanging on the rim, and that's why he got that tech. So WTF moment of the night, Andre Drummond made a good play, but it's still WTF moment of the night for Andre Drummond. It's brought to you by, as always, no one. All right, let's get ready to wrap this one up. Folks, we're back tomorrow at 3 p.m. here on the show. We have a 3 p.m. show tomorrow right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. We'll be with you then. As always, we are brought to you by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We do have a few more super chats to run through.
Thought you forgot. I was like, uh-oh.
Glasses, Kyle.
Oh, boy.
Pump. Oh, Pump is back. On pace for ace. Drum Dog and Paul Clifton, Anthony George were doing yeoman's work.
Not the full government name for Paul George.
Drum Dog.
All right. So what we also, he said on pace for ace. We got to figure out what the preferred tanking hashtag is.
Well, for the first, of course, the number one pick is Cooper Flag. But if it's for Dylan Harper, you got to come up with one there.
Well, no, but when you come up with the saying, you're aiming for the top.
Yeah, but what if they don't get it? I mean, that's high probability that they don't get that one.
Sure, but the saying is for the weeks leading up to the lottery.
Yeah.
It's the goal of the rest of the games.
But a lot of people like different players.
I think Cooper's pretty unanimous.
Yeah, I think most people don't believe they're going to get Cooper Flag.
I think the easy one is failing for Flag. But my personal favorite is play like poop for Coop. So you guys come up with your own hashtag. And it even
works with our ad partners too.
I suppose so.
I guess so. Yeah. But Ace Hardware, the Ace Bailey part, I don't know. All right. But we hear you, Pump. The guys did their part. They gave us a good game. And
maybe tomorrow we'll do 60 minutes of tanking hashtags.
Mellow 3-point race for Ace. I don't like Ace Bailey enough, but at least it rhymes. I like that one.
Yeah,
I would never propose.
We're going to have some wars with people over the Ace Bailey evaluation, I would say.
I can't wait to see what that NCAA tournament looks like with Ace. Skunk Riley, in honor off. But in honor of Paul George's historic, you'll remember where you were podcast retirement. I smashed my second pinky with a hammer. Both pinkies are now broken, and I look like Bizarro Brian Baldinger. Have you ever seen Baldy's pinky, everybody?
I was waiting for Skunk to turn that into a haiku, and it never came.
It never got there.
So thank you, Skunk, for that wonderful tribute to Paul George. Hashtag thank you,
By the
PG.
way, Baldy said when he was on vacation, he was in the same spot as Paul George.
I know where he was, and like I said, I will not say.
Well, Baldy said it on Anthony's show.
Uh-oh.
So go look at it on Anthony's show.
I will protect
See what I
Paul
find
George's
out.
vacation privacy.
Yeah. He said he had no problem gripping the bottles of champagne. So
There you go.
good for him. Thank you for the super chat, Skunk. Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, with a few of them, so we'll get to these. Truly dislike our commentary crew. Be biased, damn it.
I don't know if that's referring to us or the game
No,
commentary.
I think that's got to be the game commentary.
Yeah.
I don't know, Davon. No.
I mean, let's put it this way. Davon's dropped a lot of money if he dislikes us that much. So,
Yeah.
He's dropped a couple more super chats, in fact. Said would have helped to get a second round pick for KJ, SMH.
After you mentioned, of course, the KJ Martin.
well, they did
Would've
get two
helped us-
second round. Wait, no, I think I got that backwards, don't I?
Sorry, Ryan Reynolds at Mint Mobile's giving me a call. Uh-oh. I heard they actually gave up two second round picks to trade KJ
Well, there must have been
Martin.
a good reason other than saving money, right?
It's not looking like it. Because after they used it to justify, we want to bring Gershon back. They've played him less than ever.
Yeah. Well, also that reason was nonsense. But
It
anyway,
was, but
anyway.
also they played him less.
Davon with another one. 30 points on 32 shots from Maxey. Not good enough with 2 Fs. 30 points on 32 shots from Kobe, rest his soul.
He's a killer.
So
He said, I
here's-
can't. First of all, you don't want to hear my thoughts
I know.
on Kobe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, look, it was first of all, he was pretty inefficient even for back then, but it was a very different NBA. Like the
Yeah,
efficiency
for
of
sure.
calculations
Way
were
different.
completely
it's a lot of it's a product of the time to some extent, and a product of Kobe wanted to play that way,
Yeah.
right? Like that's
well, especially in those post Shaq years.
also if they would have won, you feel a little differently. But when you don't win, you look at it and say, well, 32 shots, 30 points, and you lost.
And Kobe won a lot of games like that and
did.
championships. So you get away with that. Citizen X, do we really want to sneak in the play-in, or do we want to secure a top 6 pick?
I mean, this isn't even a question.
Citizen X, I just want to say it to you what Derek said.
We were
at
having a
the
panic.
top of the podcast because I'm sure you missed it. Derek said completely seriously, getting this pick is the most important thing in his life.
His
right
life.
now. His life.
It's not even close.
the show.
It's not even close.
Not in his basketball life. In his life.
And Bree,
Apologies to my family and my loved
Bree,
ones, but you are not that important
Can you
right
put
now.
the tank back up in the corner so Citizen X can see
Tank watch.
how locked in we are to that question and answering it with the tank watch right there. Citizen X, there's your answer right there. Secure the pick. Lock in the pick. That's what you want.
Yeah. Now,
Even me saying lock in the pick.
if the we is the Sixers, it's murkier.
yeah.
Because they, at least optically, they're not
Well, and just judging by the fact they're playing Tyrese with a hurt finger and
43
and
minutes, by the way.
Paul with a, still a
Yeah.
yeah. They're clearly trying to win, which is what makes us even more sad, but they're trying.
Absolutely. All right.
Wow, you got hit with that's a pretty sad life, gotta say, Derek.
Buddy, I have to.
I didn't say it. I'm just relaying the message.
Do you have any idea how much time I have to spend watching and talking about this team? I need something to turn that around.
Hey, Aaron says, why not miss both? They could. Could miss the play-in
They could.
and could
I mean,
wind up out of that top 6.
right
And-
now, that's like a
people-
54% chance of happening.
and
So you
according
need them to move up.
Derek's one spin on Tankathon, they did miss number 7 pick overall. If they get this, if they win the lot, if they get the 7 pick in the lottery, boy.
If they,
Ooh.
we're gonna be sitting there at pick 8 and 7 on lottery night, and if I see the Oklahoma City Thunder logo pop up, I'm gonna be like, you ever seen the GIF of Kermit, like a doll just flipping out of a building and hitting the street.
You will
That's
just see
gonna be
the
Derek.
life drain out of me
That's
in
going
real
to be
time.
Derek. He's going to walk or no, he's going to. I won't say the show. There is a show that you and I both watched that had someone walk out of a window.
I don't even
I
watch
know
the show.
exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
I know that one. Yeah, I don't know that one. All right, well, that'll do it for us, folks.
On that note,
We'll be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock, so make sure you're all tuning in. But before we step away, of course, it's the world famous roll call.
thank you everybody who was here tonight. Even the people who are mad at me for saying that Kelly Oubre is not a better basketball player than Joel Embiid, because apparently that needed to be established. But hello to you anyway. Hello to my guy Aaron, to Remo K.
What up, Aaron?
To Citizen X. Yes, X. They need to lose, and they need to lose a lot. We are all in agreement on that. Thank you to Hookah Doncic.
Hookah.
One of my favorite names that's
Did you
ever
get
been in
traded
this
too?
chat. Igavini.
What up, Igavini?
My girl Winona.
Hey, Nona.
Jess.
Jess.
Jeannie, I know, left earlier, but
Yes,
thank you,
she
Jeannie,
did.
for
And
popping
Val
in.
did. Yeah.
And Val did.
Yeah.
Thank you to Val. Thank you to Money Mar, public enemy number 7 or 8 at this point.
Yeah, he's way down the list.
You're waiting. Money Mar, you got to cause more trouble, buddy. You used to be
What up, Mar?
a real villain in this place. Not anymore. Thank you to
anymore.
Noel. Thank you to Barbara Carroll.
Hey,
Thank
Barb.
you to Todd Gebhardt. Thank you to Charles, who said that that's a pretty sad life.
What up,
I'm
Jumps?
still cracking up about that. Thank you to Dan Taylor. Thank you to PHLY guy. Thank you to
PHLY.
Sir Schmooey. Thank you to Super Dope Hip Hop.
What up, hip hop? Is that the mascot? Super Dope
I
Hip-Hop?
think it's might just be a rap
All right.
channel. I don't know. Thank you to Barbara Carroll.
What
Thank
up,
you
Barb?
to Jack Reacher. Thank you to SB
Love
Cole.
the movie.
Evan Davis. Thank you to Mom's grandchildren. What up, Mom?
Up late again.
Who else we got in
Saw
here?
Sal
Kyle
in there.
Wright. I saw Sal. Who are our super chatters today, Bree? We
I have
a
them.
bunch.
Jake M, Skunk Riley, Jess, Brian Pumper, Davon Bernard, Citizen X, there for us all.
Perfect.
Yes.
One
Thank
more
you to
shout
Wawa
out to
Marvel.
Hookah Doncic.
We had a guy named King
Love it.
something in here who was a big Knicks fan who had probably the worst trash talk I've ever seen in a post-game
Sixers
show.
bad,
Just like,
Knicks good.
hey, the Sixers aren't good. Well, thanks. I couldn't tell. They're only 20 and 38. You know, it wasn't obvious to me. Guy who watches and writes about the Sixers every day. Anyway,
20 and
thank you
38.
everyone for being here. We love you. We love your support. If you have not, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live, and hit the thumbs up button to say thank you, super producer Bree, for being here through it all, through all the ups and downs, but mostly the downs this season. She's here with us. Thank you to Bree. Thank you to all of you. We will be back tomorrow,
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock sharp. Don't be late.
They didn't fall by 50 tonight.
50.
Goodbye.
See.
We all silly like the mayor.